I'm Al-Falaki.
I'm Patel.
And welcome to
the Nail It podcast.
This is your place to lead better, live fully, and laugh more. It's your blueprint to optimal performance. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Nail It podcast, your place to
lead better, live fully, laugh more.
And laugh more. And did you notice how fluent that was? And that's because, yes, Bhavin has finally had a tattoo.
Inside
he
of my
remembers
arm.
it forever and ever. Who'd have known? I don't have a tattoo, Bhavin, and I think whenever my daughter ends up threatening one, and she comes along with one of these henna ones and things, I kind of look at her very sternly and she's like, don't worry, it's only henna, I'll never get a tattoo. And I think the reason was when we were in medical school, in the days when we still worked on cadavers, the table next to us, our cadaver was covered in tattoos. This poor, very, very, very thin man who had so kindly donated his body to medical research. But you just thought, God, that's what tattoos look like when you're really, really old and there's no flesh on you. And it just looked awful. It put me off for life.
I was saying that. I mean, I would never allowed a tattoo. It was like one of the red lines on my dad where I was like, if you get a tattoo, don't come home. And I don't know what it was, piercing or tattoo. So I never got a piercing or a tattoo.
Really?
But yeah, I was saying that with Hina the other day. I was like,
until now, Bhavin.
Until now, obviously, it's henna. It's henna. No, I was saying that, yeah, when you get old, I'm sure you're going to regret that. Especially people that get tattoos on their faces. And surely, as you get older, it's one of those things that you're going to regret that. And it's like, I don't know. It's very committing, isn't it? Having a tattoo.
It is, but I mean, it's a form of art and a form of self-expression, and when I talk to people, there's always so many reasons. There's like a reason why they've had certain tattoos done, and it's fascinating. It's like with everything, right? It's rather than us ever passing judgment, it's the story behind it that is always so fascinating, isn't it?
Exactly.
So on that note, Bhavin, we have an amazing guest with us today.
We've got Shandy Vijayan. She is a dentist, she's a clinical lecturer at the best dental school in the country, and she is the COO of Dental Moms Network. Welcome, Shandy.
Thank you, Bhavin. So happy to be here.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you on. So, first question before we dive into anything, and I should just mention the best dental medical school in the world ever is Barts and the London, which all three of us just happen to qualify from. Hey, no bias there whatsoever. Shandy, what is your favorite quote and why?
Wow. Okay. So my favorite quote is a African proverb, and it is, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And I guess for me, it resonated so much because of my journey after dental school, and where I am now has been about the community element of it. I felt very isolated when I graduated. It felt very lonely, and you come from dental school and then you're stuck in your four walls, and you kind of go through periods of your early career not really knowing what's right, if you're doing things right, the self-doubt kicks in, the fear of things going wrong kicks in, and I felt a lot of the times very trapped early on. And it's only when I started venturing out, going to events, meeting other dentists within the community, that I saw the spaces and the opportunities open. And what felt isolating in the first decade of my career, I probably could have avoided had I ventured out a little bit more into the community. And back then, I don't think these kind of communities existed. I think now we are inundated with so many options out there, and I feel like Dental Moms Network is just something that we are putting into the space for women in dentistry. So that's why
I love that. And actually I often quote that as well, exactly that. So for our listeners, just again, if you want to go fast, go alone, typical world of an entrepreneur. But if you want to go far, go together. And I completely resonate with that, because definitely as an entrepreneur, you go alone, and sometimes it's just much easier. But you can get to the point of risk of burnout, poor performance, and this feeling of disconnect. So you're not really an optimal performer at all. You are the performance type that I call the driven outsider, which is exactly that. It's about feeling alone because you become tunnel visioned. You're working on your mission or whatever you're doing, but you can start to feel isolated. And it might be that relationships fall by the wayside. It may be that you kind of lose your way a bit. It may be that you compromise on your health a little bit too much just to kind of achieve a particular goal. And it's something that's classic in a high stress profession such as dentistry as well, if you're a business owner and therefore also an entrepreneur, or even if you're just a clinician. So finding that way to really find your community is an amazing thing. And you're absolutely right, in the field of dentistry there didn't used to be that. It was almost a very I don't know what your thoughts were, but I know for me, obviously, I've been in this game for 30 years now. It was very toxic. You know, when I first came into the field of coaching, I was doing it out in the big old business world and not within the dental field at all, because I just felt there were too many naysayers. It wasn't accepted. It wasn't adopted. And I think until the pandemic, there was very much this feeling of like you could have two practices that are down the road from each other and they would see themselves as competitors, which for me as a coach and someone who's quite spiritual and likes to live in a very conscious way just doesn't agree with me, because I come from a place of abundance. You know, there is enough for everybody and there should be enough for everybody. And I'm pleased to see that there is a shift. So even in the coaching and personal development world as well, we've started to come across so many more people, and there's definitely an acceptance and an understanding of wanting to grow together. That's me on my monologue. We're going to ask about Dental Mums Network in a minute. But Bhavin, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, but that also goes along with the fact that I think these days people are a lot more willing to refer patients as well, because it's along the same lines as you know, you want to go fast, go by yourself, when you used to be a jack of all trades, general practitioner. But I think especially the newer generation of dentists are quickly seeing that it is really important to be able to get the best care at the right time, and therefore it's not I'm going to do everything because I feel it's on the best way. I think it's giving the patient the choices and having the best care by the best person, and they do what they're good at, you do what you're good at, and you work together as a team, and you're having that within teams as well, as opposed to having to refer out. So I think there's an element of that as well with the quote.
Comes back to the abundant mindset, right? Of we want the best, and kind of realizing that sometimes your skill set in whatever it is, clinical dentistry or something else in the business world, that you might not have the precise skill set, but actually to come together, then you get the best of both worlds. And that brings us into what I call synergy. The 1 + 1 = 3, because you're using all each other's skills and you elevate each other up even more, which is all part of the nail it triad when it comes to the play model. So you mentioned Dental Mums Network, Shandy. Tell us about it. How long has it been going? What does it involve? I know I've had the pleasure of speaking at one of your events earlier in the year, which was amazing, but let's hear it from you.
I guess Dental Moms Network came about through the founder, Rabia. She had bought a practice with her husband and her brother. And this was, I think, just before the pandemic. And the way she was leading that practice kind of differed from the way her husband and her brother was. And she felt very isolated, thinking, am I doing something wrong? Is the way I'm approaching this practice, you know, it's so different. Is there something wrong with me? And she decided to create a community of female practice owners, and started bouncing off ideas. And what came about from that conversation was that actually she thought very similarly to the other female leaders, and there was some sort of I don't know what's the word, reassurance in that her approaches were not that they were wrong, they were just different. And by combining both her brothers and her husband's insight alongside hers, they found a synergy that worked really well for them. And she called me up one day and she was like, I feel like there's more space for this in women. I don't think I'm the only one. How do you feel? And I said the same thing. And it came about because of both of our needs, if that makes sense. And it wasn't something that we thought it would be as big as what it was today. When we first threw our first event last year, and we're only coming up to a year old, we did an event called Thrive Together. And it was meant to be for 40 women coming together, learning about imposter syndrome, navigating burnout, work-life balance, and just things that women generally go through in our profession. And something that was meant to be for 40 people, we ended up having 107 people wanting to attend. And then on the back of that, we did some meaningful events that we wanted to bring awareness to within the profession. So we did something about domestic abuse awareness in October. And we did our most recent one that Rana had the pleasure at being at. And again, that was an event that we wanted to do for, I think it was around 100 people, and we ended up having 167 people. And I guess what we're creating is what the women are asking for. So at the back of Thrive, we had a feedback of what do women want in the industry? What space do you want us to create? And they said a well-being space. They wanted to learn about professional development. They wanted to have a networking space of other like-minded women and an opportunity to meet and network. And there's so much wealth of knowledge within our community that we don't get to share with each other, because when do we have the opportunity to meet up? Yeah, you might have your close friend circle. And I remember one of the ladies that came and spoke to Rabia was said, I never realized that I needed friends in the industry that were dentists that would understand me better than friends that are non-dentists and non-dental. And that was quite powerful. And she was quite emotional when she said, Rabia, thank you so much for convincing me, because she was in two minds of whether this was something that she wanted to attend. And I guess it's these feedback that keeps myself and Rabia's momentum of creating this space to move forward. So this wasn't an intention to be as big as it is, but there's definitely a demand for it. So we're creating spaces, we're challenging the status quo, we are creating a culture and an environment that women feel seen, they feel heard, they feel understood. And as we are progressing, by 2030, we're predicted to have 73% of female graduates coming into the profession. And surprisingly, we still have the largest dropout, either straight after DFT or straight after motherhood. And why is that? Why is retention so low? Is the industry ready for us? Is the industry designed for us? Well, we're here to try and see if we can amplify our voices with this community and make some changes. That means that, women feel happy in their career, they're confident, and they're building connections to have a fulfilling, fulfilling career, essentially.
It's amazing, isn't it? And when you think, because many people think, well, she's a perfect profession for women. You can work part-time, you can pick and choose, but it is incredibly demanding, and I think that's one of the hardest bits. Like you're doing a day in clinic, you cannot be there with your phone. You cannot make a quick phone call to book something in or check or make a quick doctor's appointment, because when they ask you to be on hold, you freak out because you don't have time to be on hold because you've got patients. And you can't stop in the middle of treatment. So it's actually a huge amount of pressure. It's not like any other job. Even a GP can sneak away a little bit of quiet time hidden away in a surgery if they need to. But I just want to take you back for a second. And those statistics, actually, the 73% is staggering. And actually in Northern Europe, or in the countries like the Nordic countries, they have about 90% females in dentistry already. Actually, sorry, Babin, you're going to gradually be pushed out there. There we go. But
I don't mind. I don't mind being surrounded by women.
Yeah, better hands. What can I say? But Shandy, you said it evolved from yours and Rabia's needs. And what I would really like to know is, when Rabia was talking to her husband and her brother and wasn't agreeing, and then came to you and said, surely there's got to be another way. What was that other way? What was that philosophy, that idea?
I think, trying to think back now. I think for us, it was fundamentally we are different. Men and women think differently. Biologically we're differently, and it doesn't mean that we're wrong. It just meant that the way we see our perspective on things and outlooks on things just differ. I think we lead with more empathy, we lead with more compassion, and we realize that leadership within a dental practice, and I'm not a practice owner, I was thinking it from an associate's point of view, and she felt that when you're in a space where you're second guessing yourself, you're doubting yourself, and you're kind of feeling a little bit lost, that she found there was, what's the word? She found it therapeutic. I don't know, in the sense that other women was like, you know what, you're not losing, you're not going crazy. We feel it too. We thought that too. We don't understand why they think it in a certain way. And it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. Like, I don't think there is a right and wrong. It's just understanding someone else's perspective. And that's probably due to lived experiences, due to the way we kind of analyze certain situations. I think we do approach the same problems quite differently. And I guess that's what it is, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember there's a chapter in my first book that says lead and wear a skirt. And it's understanding, actually, for me, I was always inadequate. People used to think, oh, you must be this person who's into all female empowerment. And it's like, no, actually, I'm into people empowerment for you as an individual, whoever you are, because every single person is unique and you'll have your own path and your own way to lead and shine. Yeah. But it was about stop trying to be what you're not. So in that sense, you know, you have all these wonderful skills as a female. You don't have to act like your perception of what a man is in order to lead. And in many ways, you have some things, like you said, that I'm not going to say superior. I'm just going to say different in the outset. Bhavin, you recently gave a talk on different personality types and how they fit in around a team, and also on generational differences. I'm sure you can give some insight into this idea between men, women, age groups.
Well, obviously the DISC personality type training is what we're certified in doing. It's obviously there's different personalities, but it's not so much a gender issue. It's more of a different personality issues and generational, depending on obviously where you're born. But I think millennials, especially, we're a generation that have come into this workplace, and we're sort of a bridging generation between Gen X and the Gen Zers. And I think we're much more open to being coached and being led, and we ask for feedback and we want that feedback. And I think that's where this where Dental Mums Network would really fit in, because that's the generation that are having babies now, and they're having babies a little bit later on, and they need that space where they can collaborate and work together. And that goes back to personality type training in the influence side of personality training. And I think a lot of dentists are on that sort of part of the scale, the people. So they're the people that lead with a bit more empathy and energized by people around them. And I think having a network like this, especially for females, especially ones, as you say, Shandy, there's people in the profession that don't have friends or family that are dentists. And so where do they get their support group from? And having that space for them, especially, say, females who may feel a little bit isolated, it's such a great thing to have started, and I think it's very positive movement in the right direction. Can I just ask, is it just for mums, or is it just females, or
it's female? It's for everyone within the dental industry. So you could be a nurse, therapist, a hygienist, or anyone just working in the dental field. So it's not just for dentists, and it's not just for mums. And I think we're just we've got a whole board of women who are leading their respective sectors, and they're their voice. They're basically amplifying the voices of the women in that industry. So, you know, we want anyone within the industry to come to us with whatever woes or problems or wins that they've got that they think they need further reach or awareness on. So we feel like, you know, let's talk about the recruitment issue right now. We find that a lot of practices are finding it really difficult to retain and recruit dental nurses, but then we don't really fully understand what the needs of the dental nurses are and where we can bridge that kind of barrier between practice principals and nurses. So we've got someone that's now amplifying the voices of the nurses and what it is that they want, what it is that will make their careers fulfilling, what it is that we can kind of develop. And then we've got women who are practice owners who are encouraging more female practice owners, in aspiring practice owners, to kind of go down that journey, and what kind of pathways do we need to create there. I guess we're here as a hub for women to come to. They will let us know what they need, and we're going to figure out a way to figure it out. Like, we do not have the answers, and we are learning. We're less than a year old, but I guess is the space. We've created that space so that people know we exist, so they can start coming to us and we can problem solve together, because this community is for women and it's led by women. And I guess there's something powerful in that, because we truly understand what the community needs, and we're truly invested in learning about what they need and how we can go about helping them. So yeah.
Yeah, something sprung to mind when, I mean, that's the thing, you started off as dental mums, right? And now it's difficult to rebrand. We need to find a different word for the initials now, don't we? DM. Yeah. Because it has, even on the Revive event that you had in January, it became actually not everybody is a mum, but we're realizing there's a need, and there's a warmth and a collaboration and a cohesiveness of this particular network that brings people in. But it brought me back to my days when my kids were younger. You know, you were talking about isolation and being alone, right? So I owned a practice. I had 2 practices as a specialist, and my husband, ex-husband, not for this reason, I should say, we're very good friends still, is also a dentist, also from the London, by the way. So there we go. See, it's not all bad. And he, you know, I would come home having had a really, he was an associate. I would come home having had obviously a long day at work, and anyone who's a practice owner or business owner knows, you know, you don't get a lunch break, forget that. It's meetings galore and non-stop, and you kind of drag yourself home as the last person, lock up the door, and off you go. And I would come home to, at that time, 2 very young children who had been picked up from nursery, and I would literally be like, oh great, you're home, here you go, and he would be off in the pub. So then I would be the one who was cooking dinner and giving them a bath and sorting them out, and then having dinner with my husband, and then I was then on my lecturing circuit all around the world as well. So then I'd be on my laptop sorting out all of my lectures and my cases for my next trip, and then sort of crawling into bed. So you talk about isolation. That's the reason, because especially when you are a mother of young children, and I've seen in your network there are a lot of mothers of very young children, but you're realizing, you're helping enable them to realize that needn't be a barrier, so come along regardless. But I think that's the reason for the isolation, as opposed to, you know what, you look after the kids while I go off and do my thing. And as a woman, you feel obliged. It needn't necessarily be that way, but it's all the stories you tell yourself, and all the belief systems that may have come from your childhood, from how you were brought up, from social norms, that make you think, no, you're the one who has to stay at home and look after the child, and therefore it's okay for your husband to go off to the pub or somewhere else while you stay at home. And it's the same things that we generalize about imposter syndrome, lack of confidence, soft leadership. And it's not soft. Actually, master the soft skills and you are the most powerful leader you possibly can be. So we need to break those norms, really. We need to break that stereotypical thinking.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that kind of makes us different from any other network as well. Like, even at Thrive, we had a mother who wanted to come, and a child was still breastfeeding, so she wanted to come, and she thought by the time the event came about, her baby would have taken the bottle. Unfortunately, reality was the baby wasn't taking the bottle, and bless her husband volunteered to come to the event, brought the baby so that she can attend this event because it meant so much to her. And that same lady came back to Revive event, and we had many more babies at this event, because we just didn't want that barrier of, you know, I don't have someone, you know, when you're the primary caregiver and you don't have the luxury of having, you know, a babysitter or someone that can look after your child, but you still also want to invest in yourself and develop, like, that shouldn't be a barrier. How many times do women in the early years of their maternity career feel like they've taken the foot off the pedal because they're forced to, not because they want to? And you know, I felt that coming, navigating maternity first time around, second time around, 2 different struggles. Like, I guess no woman knows what to expect when you're going through the period of your maternity break. You don't know what it's going to look like returning back to a skeleton of a book. You don't know whether you have the confidence to pick up that drill and do that crown prep again the way you left it. You're kind of like a different version of yourself, because you've got lack of sleep, you've got a baby that's dependent on you, you're navigating this new season, but also trying to navigate this return back to work, which can seem really overwhelming, really stressful at the time. You then have, practices that not 100% sure how to phase you back into your return. So you're learning on your feet, they're learning on their feet. You're building something all over again, and you're starting, like, you feel like you're starting back from dental school again. And then you're like, wow, everyone has moved ahead. Like, you're then comparing, you're like, so and so is there, and I'm still feeling like I'm lost. And that is a very scary place to be when you're in it on your own. And I didn't have many friends in the same phase of life, so I wasn't quite sure if it was all normal, and I felt like I was kind of not suffering alone, but just was unaware of my options, of how to get back my confidence and how to basically continue my career journey. I felt like I was falling behind when in reality I wasn't. I was just in a different phase of my life, but I couldn't see past it. But now having women who've been there, and I think you learn from those kind of conversations and be like, it can look like this. You have something to kind of look forward to. Like, when you're in it, you feel a little bit lost, but when someone says to you, actually, you know what, this is what you've got to look forward to, or this is what it can look like in a few years time, you feel like there's light at the end of the tunnel. And it's nice to hear that sometimes.
Yeah,
So
I think
are you
that's, sorry,
making?
Bab, I was just going
Yeah.
to say it's a little bit like having a mentor, but exactly that. You've got people of different ages, so you can see it's people that you can look up to or aspire to become like, right? Sorry, Babin.
No, no. As I was saying, I'm just trying to get my simple head around it. So, the Dental Mums Network, are you making it more accessible to mums? So, is there like a creche there, or is there play,
So,
or is it online, or
So when we come to events, we did
yeah,
look at the creche option, but it just logistically just didn't work out. So we encourage women to bring their children with them. If they feel like they want to be a part of this event and they don't want to miss out, we're
yeah,
not going to have a barrier that say that you can't bring your child to this. We will find a way to make it work. So the last event we said we will pay for the carer. So DMN will pay for the carer. We'll subsidize the cost, that we will have you come along and the baby and the carer will be on us. So that way you didn't feel like you had to miss out.
okay, nice, okay,
Pretty unique, right? It really is,
yeah,
very much so.
yeah.
So what's next? So obviously there have been events. You're about to start a newsletter.
Yes, we are.
And what's the aim of the
Yeah.
newsletter?
I think the aim of the newsletter is to basically be bite-sized chunk. We understand how busy women are in the field. We want it to be of value. We want it to be something that you could really read within like 2 to 3 minutes, but you're walking away with actionables that you can implement in surgery straight away, or it could be a quick, I don't know, 20-minute recipe, or it could be a health hack, or it could be a recommendation or a wellness kind of hack. So the aim is to provide value to our audience, something that they can take away and do straight away, and they feel the impact of it. So yeah, that's what we're looking to launch very soon. I guess the other things that we're trying to do is create space around meaningful conversations. So we've got our DMN conversations coming up, and our first event is on infertility, and that is on the 23rd of April. And it's a space for women who are going through infertility challenges, might be considering egg freezing, unfortunately suffered a stillbirth. Like, these are spaces where we want women to be able to have a conversation. We've got a doctor, gynecologist, two gynecologists, a male perspective on infertility at the panel, and someone that has gone through IVF challenges, and how that affects your work life, and how that affects, the workplace, in the sense of what kind of support, what kind of policies are there. You know, do you have, someone that's gone through miscarriages then expected to go back to work the following day? Like, do you see what I mean? Like, we want to create spaces that we can see how can we move forward, because these situations happen, and it happens to so many, but until you're in it, you don't know how to deal with it, and there's no guidance out there. So we're creating open spaces for these conversations, and we're hoping on the back of it that we can create more awarenesses to practices, and how to support women going through it.
But it's also how to support each other, right?
Yes,
You take
absolutely.
the miscarriage bit, the fertility bit. People don't talk about it. They don't want to talk about the fact that they're trying to get pregnant, partly for the stigma of how they're going to be treated at work in case they do get pregnant, and at the same time, they then hope. And then you have women who have miscarriages. Is such a common thing, and it's very painful psychologically, and you just usually smile through it. I mean, take it from someone who was I was trying to sell my practice and had to go in while having a miscarriage because I had a potential buyer that day, and another time, yeah, one day after giving birth to a dead baby, so and three other miscarriages. So yeah, but that's what you do when you own a business, and you smile. But this was obviously, like, my youngest is now 14, so I'm pleased to say that was many years behind me. So the fact Dental Mums Network didn't exist then, so I think bringing that stuff into the norm, being able to support women on that, to know that they're not alone, that they have got people they can turn with, that they don't have to do this by themselves, that they don't have to be isolated, that they don't have to live this living hell that's hidden behind a mask, is what's really going to help people be healthier. Which obviously our whole philosophy around Nail It is being an optimal performer. That means you master every aspect of health, right? Mental, emotional, psychological, social, organizational, physical. That's how you perform at your best. So authenticity and being able to genuinely smile is part of it.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah. Like I say, I think you're doing some great work there. And so what is the ultimate vision? What is the end goal? What would you want? What's your dream?
Good question, Favid. Our dream. I think me and Robbie had this conversation. We're like, we didn't even see this being a year old. Like, honestly, it was one of those things. We thought it would be an event that we put together, and that will be the end of it. But as long as there's a demand, and as long as the women need us around, we'll be here. I think our goal is to make sure that the that the industry is well supporting the women within their workforce. We do not want to have 73% or even 90% of women graduating into the profession for them to then leave it. We want to retain those workforce. We want the industry to flourish. And I think dentistry is a wonderful, profession to be in. I didn't once think that when I first graduated, and the struggles that I went through the first 7 years of my career. I love it now because of the community that I surrounded myself with, the things that I've learned along the ways, and the professional development that comes around finding your tribe and finding your mentor. And you don't know what you don't know until you put yourself out there, right? I think you can be trapped in a profession, or trapped in a practice, in an environment, and have this kind of self-negative talk that the people that you surround yourself with is going to influence the type of fulfillment you're going to get from that job, right? This moment you put yourself in a different environment and you flourish, you realize how toxic certain situations and certain environments can be. And I guess for us is to ensure that women have the confidence, the connection to really have a fulfilling career. And I think that's what we want to see in the future. And by amplifying our voices, by building this community, I think that's what we would like to aim for. And that's, I guess, is like the bigger goal. But right now we're here for the women that need us, and each event amplifies the need further. Like I said, 40 people that we anticipated, 107 showed up. The second event we anticipated 100, we had 167. It just shows that what we're doing is something that women want and need, and so as long as they need it, we're going to be here.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. I think it's absolutely wonderful, and you've touched on so many brilliant points there about the profession, about actually it's not what you do in any organization that you might work in. Quite often you think you hate your job, you think you just, it's not that. It's often the situation, circumstances, and atmosphere around it, hence the social health and organizational health part. That's so important. And having the communication skills, the boundaries, and the foundation within yourself to be able to elicit an experience that you actually desire. So on that note, Shandy, we're coming towards the end, and we've touched on so many elements and many elements of optimal performance. And we asked you before you came on the show to review those amazing 6 pillars of the Nail It system. which of those 6 do you feel resonates with you the most, that you feel is the most important?
For me, I think intuition. I think powerful decision making. I found I doubted myself because I lacked the confidence in many ways throughout my career. And had I followed my intuition, my gut a lot earlier on, I could have spared myself a lot of misery. But that also led me to realize that it's trusting myself, building that confidence, and ensuring that I am competent, like in the things that I need to do. That self-doubt and fear held me back far too long. So intuition.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. So intuition, that's pillar number 5, the North Star Navigator, and it's that's the acronym STAR. So it's about silence. So it's needing to have enough silence to allow your intuition to come in, which can be very challenging nowadays with phones and pings from WhatsApp and all the other distractions that you have. So the thoughts that come into your head when you're driving and when you're in the shower, I share in my book why there is actual science to show that is actually the best way to get intuition to come in. And then T is the trust. We need to trust. You need to trust your intuition. You need to trust yourself. The A is about attachment. So needing that connection. You really do need to ground yourself, connect to your mind, your body, your goals, your spirit. And the R is about recognize. So as you mentioned, not trusting my intuition and not following it. So recognizing when something is an intuition and when something is a fear. Your intuition will guide you forward. Your intuition will never stop you. And yet, so if you have that feeling, oh, I've got a gut feeling that I shouldn't do this, sometimes that's actually a fear. So I train you in that process through our online systems, and we write about it in the book about how to truly, truly recognize intuition. And it really is the secret sauce, which men and women are equally good at. But you do need to train yourself, and it's a phenomenal, phenomenal leadership skill. So yeah, we love intuition. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Wow. Can't believe the time's gone so fast.
Yeah. So Shandy, thank you so much for your time today. That's absolutely brilliant. We've loved it. How can people get hold of you? How can they find out more about Dental Mums Network? How can they connect?
They can follow us on Instagram on Dental Mums Network. We also have our website, which I can provide you the details of as well, so you can direct people there.
Yeah, if we just say it for anyone listening, it's
www.dentalmumsnetwork.co.uk.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Brilliant. Amazing. Thank you so much, Shandy. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you
Carry
so
on doing
much.
what you're doing. So it's obviously working and there's a need for it.
Thank you, Shandy.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
So, Bav, wow.
Yeah.
Your summary, because I didn't really get you get a word in.
No, it's fine.
Being the only male in the room.
I could be an honorary member of the Dental Mums Network now.
I think you probably
Be
could.
the dental dad. Yeah.
Revive. There we
Dental
go.
Dads Network.
Absolutely.
No, do you know what? Like I say, I think it's a really important space, and I think that obviously we're finding that with obviously our theme and our systems, and I think there's a space in dentistry for a lot more people, like-minded people, to get together to support each other. And I think something you've taught, Renee, is that you're a accumulation of the people that you surround yourself with. And if you surround yourself with the right people, you're all going to pull each other up together. And it goes back to Shandy's quote, is that you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, you go together. And this is exactly what we're doing. We're creating a space of this sort of a community of people that we can help through practices, through associates, through nursing and hygiene. And obviously Shandy's found a network that is well in need of dental mums. And obviously being a man, I don't obviously realize this, but obviously I've got 2 children, and I think my wife would have been really up for that as well, because exactly as Shandy says, it's a scary thing, leaving a profession that you've trained pretty much 20-30 years of life to do, and then all of a sudden having to go into finding a new role in your life, as well as going back into this profession that's very demanding and very isolating. It's going to be something that is, like I say, quite a scary thing to do. And like I say, if you've got a support network around you, that's great. It's a bit like an NCT network, but for dentists.
Yeah, yeah. And actually just to finish up on that, you know, when I used to have my practice, I would always have a picture of my kids in the room. And okay, it was nice to look at my kids, but it was more to tell patients that when they asked, oh, can you not stay later for me? Can you not work at the weekend? Or why can't you do this sooner?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
see that picture over
yeah,
there? That's
exactly.
why. And it humanizes you.
Yeah,
And suddenly they realize, oh yeah, okay, you are actually a human being. You're not just there to serve me.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have that as well. That it serves me a purpose of not wanting to go in because I'm looking at my girls that eat while you're home.
Fantastic. All right, well, that's all we've got time for. So please do hit the subscribe button, share, tell everybody about this amazing podcast, and we'll see you on our next episode. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Nail It podcast. We would love it if you would leave us a 5-star review. And if you'd like to feature as one of our guests or you're ready to nail it, then check out our events, programs and educational courses by visiting nailitindentistry.com.